All right, we are live. Excellent. Hello, everybody. Going to take a second here, as always, for it to kick over to Instagram. I will. Oh, here we go. It is going. I do need to make sure that I mute that. Sometimes I hear myself talking in the background, which is not what I need to. Not what I need. Nobody needs to hear themselves talking in double time. So I am super excited. So first off, before I introduce the guests, it has been quite some time since I have been live due to a lot of different things that were going on, not the least of which was some spinal surgery a couple months ago. I am recovering very well. I'm excited to say that it was a success, and attitude has a lot to do with the way that you recover. We will talk about that today. But to be coming back with these two absolutely phenomenal individuals, I could have 15 different conversations with them and not cover all the content. So part of me is like, which direction do I go in? But I'm sure that we're going to pick up on a lot of wonderful snippets and pieces of information. At the end, I will be sure to make sure that you have all of the ways that you can get in contact with them to make sure that you are able to find them, hire them for services, which I believe a lot of people are probably going to be doing after this conversation. But most of all, I'm just super stoked that anybody that catches even a fragment of this conversation is going to get at least some small tidbit of information that they're going to apply to their life and to the way that they see themselves and put themselves out there. And that's the thing that really excites me about these go lives. They're global and you just never know who's watching it. We may never find out, but I am 100% confident that people are benefiting from the conversations and the information that people are sharing. So with that said, I have Heather here with me, who is one of the nation's only, I'm going to see if I can get it right. I didn't want to be reading it. Neuro-performance coaches for leaders. So executive neuro-performance coach, trained just extensively. And I'll let you speak a little bit more to that. And then Mark, who was a classically trained cellist and then became a drummer to many of world well-known musical artists. And the two of you have taken this experience and expertise and knowledge that you have and turned it into this program where you help people to tap into their innate skills and to take their fears and turn them into confidence and really just bring which Mark, I know we were talking about, the Rockstar selves to the world. And I am excited to hear about how you kind of made that connection, the approach that you take to that, et cetera. So first I'm going to have you each say a little bit more because I think people introduce themselves best and can kind of highlight their things. So Heather, why don't you go first and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
You did great. In fact, you can just come with us and just do our intros and be our cheerleader. I think you did great, Deb.
I was thinking the same thing. Great job.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll echo. I'm a neuro-performance coach, and what the heck does that actually mean? So I'm a trained accountant and corporate manager. I've owned my own businesses, and neuro-performance. I learned neuroscience through all of my experiences to understand our thoughts, our habits, and quite frankly, to unlearn, to relearn. So I've gone deep in neuroscience. It's an amazing field of study for humans to really be at their best. So that's what I focus on, and so excited to have this conversation.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Mark.
Well, it all started out when I saw the Beatles when I was 2 years old, and I saw Ringo and I saw all the screaming girls, and I said, I want that. And all I ever wanted to do was be a drummer. So I put all of my attention and energy to being a drummer and having as much success as I could have. And I got my first road gig when I was 26, touring with Brenda Russell, opening up for Billy Ocean. And then I went on to play with Foreigner and Simple Minds and Cher and Stevie Nicks and Sheryl Crow and Billy Idol. And then I spent 14 years performing with Pink on the road. But while I was doing this, I was doing a lot of music clinics. And when I was doing music clinics, I realized that I inherited my parents' professorial abilities to teach. My parents were both college professors. I thought, wow, I have the ability to actually get up and communicate and move people. And I thought, well, it would be exciting to transform that out of the small microcosm of the music business into collegiate and corporate markets. So I took it very seriously, studied with speaking coaches, an acting coach, a director, and learned the corporate try to understand what the corporations are really actually needing and how I could be of profound service and actually affect them and solve problems. So I started speaking, and that parlayed it into such a successful business that I ended up leaving touring to speak full time. And Heather and I met because we were speaking for the same client. I was the opening speaker, she was the closing speaker. And when I found out, she'd come up to me after my speech, and I found out that I wasn't going to be able to attend her speech because I had to leave, I said, let's have dinner. So we had dinner. And we just immediately resonated and realized, and then I saw some footage of what she was doing, and we realized that we have completely different lives and completely different points of view that we come from, but our content is so similar. And we remained friends, became incredibly great friends, became life partners. And then we thought, how crazy if we were to get on stage and do this together. And the joke is, a neuro coach and a drummer walk into a bar. We did take it very, very seriously. And we developed this program. We spent hundreds of hours, and we're working with a business coach. And we developed the Everyday Rockstar program. And what's so fantastic is even a lot of my pre-existing clients, when they find that, wow, they can get both of us on stage together. So you get the rock star, and then you get the amazing input and articulation of a brilliant neuro-performance coach. Every client is opting for that. So we put together this incredibly mind-bending presentation, and here we are talking to you about it.
Yeah, oh gosh, there's so many things I want to, I'm going to say something that's actually kind of interesting because it popped into my head last night, and then I'll segue that into a couple of questions that I had. But I was thinking about this whole rock star concept. And I know, again, Mark, we talked a little bit about we call people rock stars when they're doing really well. Oh, you're such a rock star, right? But I was also thinking about the concept of when we listen to music, because I'm pretty sure almost everybody listens to music in some way, shape, or form. Even people who are, may have a hearing disability, can feel the vibration, right? There's that connection with music. And I was thinking about when you're in a really good mood, particularly when you're kids, but I mean, even when I'm home alone, right? And you hear the music, and generally speaking, you either start playing the air guitar or you start playing the air drums, and that, like, you're really feeling the music and you're kind of tying into that. And that concept of, why do we do that? Obviously, it's giving us some type of satisfaction because people relate. When you mention that, people nod. They're like, oh yeah, I play the air guitar and the air drums, right? Like that connection to that music, that really feeling good and that feeling positive and confident. And as I was kind of thinking that image in my head of myself dancing around doing it, of when I've seen my friends do it, when I've seen my kids do it from when they were little to when they were older. And really, that's what you're helping people to do symbolically, is tap into that. It's the air guitar, but it's how do I take the energy, the ideas, the talents that I have inside of them, and, Heather, to your point, unwrite things that we may have been telling ourselves all along, right? And then bring it to putting that best energy forward in whatever we're doing, whether it's as a leader or whether it's somebody who's maybe not in the executive position, but is sitting at that table and wants to know how to speak up and raise their hand. And there's so much vibrance in that I could really visualize bringing people out of their quiet spot into their air guitar. And so maybe let's talk a little bit first.
Can we use that?
Go for it. Go for it.
We need to write that one down. That's great.
That's well, and I'll interject right there, Deb, because that was very well said, by the way. And I love the parallel, but it's tapping into that confidence. I mean, what you're talking about is the fun and the freedom. And from a brain science, from a neuroscience perspective, if you watch a little kid and you talk about watching your kids do that, think back when you were 7 or 8 and you didn't stress about life or money, and hopefully that your life circumstances, that you're not stressed at that age, but you're free and you're imaginative, you're creative, and you don't care what people think for the most part. You play your air guitar. I played the piano. My father had an old rocking chair with the wooden arms, and I would sit sideways, put my legs through it because we didn't have a piano, and I would bang on the arm like a piano. And then I would put headphones on and sing to songs, and you're just creative and imaginative. And what happens? your influences, your situation, your habits start to, quite frankly, untrain that creativity. So to your point, when people tap into music, it's a visceral, it's a kinetic, and it taps into brain parts that you don't use every day because we're taught so much to think and overthink and stress, and your brain gets in survival mode. So yeah, we want people to be able to tap into that freedom and fun and creativity. And yes, it's a metaphor, but the truth is we all have that. Sometimes we just need to reinforce and retrain that. That's what part of the Everyday Rockstar is all about. And that's why Mark and I jived so much. And I want to say this real quick before Mark speaks, because I know he wants to say something. But when he was talking about us meeting, when I saw him speak first, I didn't know who he was. And I tell this story all the time because I was the closing keynote at this event. He was the opening keynote. And I got roped into sitting in the front row, which I would never do at an event that I'm speaking at. I'm sitting there watching him. My jaws drop for two reasons. Number one, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how am I supposed to close out this event with this guy? I mean, he's got his drums and he's running everywhere, but it was his message. Then my jaw would drop because I was like, oh my gosh, he stole all my content. And that's how we really, our synergy clearly is what it is. So I'll throw it to you, Mark, because I know you want to interject.
Well, you're saying it so articulately, which is why I love working with Heather, because Heather is so articulate and so spot on. Essentially, Deb, you and I talked about something before we got on. One thing I'd realized that, that term rock star has been used like ad nauseum. And I thought, oh, it's been so overused. And so when I first started speaking, I thought, I'm not going to make the rock star reference. And then I woke up one day and I said, wait a minute. The truth is, I have toured the world. I played for over 1 billion people. I kind of am really a rock star. So I'm qualified. I've earned the rock star degree, so to speak. So then I started making the reference to the rock star. I think what's extraordinary about our program is I really thought that the pinnacle of my success and the pinnacle of my existence was truly based on the fact that I had played for 1 billion people and I had moved all these people on stage, and what could be better? Then I started to realize there's got to be something more. There must be another level. There must be another way to have even deeper impact. And that is the everyday rock star. So everyday rock star is actually the level above rock star. That's when you essentially bring your best self in every way to be of the greatest service to everyone else. And that's so simple. And I know it sounds very foundational, but that is exactly what we talk about and what we teach. And it's grounded in 4 neuroscience pillars. And I still do all the rock and roll performing and the road stories. It's just that it's balanced with Heather's articulation and neuroscience explanations that are simple. She does neuro nerd out, we call it a little bit. I love when she neuro nerds out, but it's very anecdotal. And we just have so much fun because our job is to solve people's problems. And our job is to show people how to have a greater impact. And what I think sets our presentation apart from most other presentations is most other presentations are motivational speakers motivating you about this, motivating you about that, and motivating you about yourself.
And we've been there. We've done that.
We've been there. I've been there, done that. It works great. The difference is our basic mandate is for you to become the best version of yourself so you could be of the greatest service and have the greatest impact on others. Because as neuroscience shows, and all the studies, and we tap into so much information from PhDs that we work with. I mean, we are utilizing content that's being used in the Harvard Business School and Stanford. And it all shows that the greater service you provide, that actually increases your well-being, your performance, and your ability to really be a higher quality being. So the focus is on getting you to that position so you can truly be of service and have an impact on the planet. And it almost chokes me up when I think about it, because everything I've always learned is all about the self and yourself and improve yourself. And this is about only doing that so you can be greater for everybody else on the planet. And if everybody assumed that viewpoint, if everybody assumed and really became everyday rock stars, oh my gosh, just think how magnificent every team would be, every organization would be, how our ROIs would increase. Heather, take it.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job, and I'll just add one little bit and throw it back to you, Deb. But circling to that visual of playing the air guitar, the air drums, if it's an attraction too. So if you think about a team perspective, if everyone truly had the confidence, tapping into their best selves, understanding, having the clarity, having the confidence to handle adversity, the resilience to tackle anything that gets thrown at them. If people really had the full energy and effort and empathy towards others, and at the end of the day, bring it and deliver their best, who doesn't want to be around that? And who doesn't want to be more like that? So if I have the freedom and confidence to just air guitar it out no matter where I'm at, it sets a spark, and then brains start syncing and cultures start changing and lives start being affected and profits are increased. I mean, it's such a domino effect, but it does start with that feeling and that internal drive to be that better version for everyone and having those skills and tools to do so. So that's our mission.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. Heather just secretly kind of leaked out the foundation of the 4 neuroscience pillars.
Yes, I did.
Did we want to go a little deeper with that, or should we just leave everybody in mystery?
Yeah, let's leave it in mystery. Let's see how Deb wants to expand on that.
Yes,
well, I'm going to take it on. You're probably not going to be surprised, Heather. I want to take it on the kindness angle for a second, right? I talk a lot about kindness, and I think what you're talking about with service, kindness is the same thing, right? We can be of service to people by holding the door at the store, smiling at somebody. There's all these different ways that we interact. And science has shown that acts of kindness, acts of service increase neurotransmitters, health and happiness hormones, and endorphins. In other words, it helps your brain, it helps your body, and it helps your emotions. So it's if you're feeling good and you're helping other people, you're helping yourself, everything benefits. And so there have been times when I would be working at a particular client and there would be a culture challenge that we were encountering, and the leadership team was trying to talk about, like, where are we going to set up this accountability? And we've got to have these very specific KPIs, valid, all valid, not kind of disregarding that. And so there's maybe a tendency to, like, why are we worrying about trying to create a culture of kindness? Well, because a culture of kindness isn't just about it's nice, which it is. P.S. It is just nice and we should be nice. But it really does create marked results across what you're going to be able to do. And that covers from the moment you're born until the moment of your last breath. Whatever you're engaged in, when you're looking at it from a place of service, you are going to function better. And the other thing that I thought that you said that really it resonated with me, because I'm sure you've had people probably say this to you, which sets you apart from some other conferences or presentations. And when you talk about something like a concert, we'll use it as an example, or some conferences, in the moment, when you're listening to the speaker, you're experiencing the music, there is that adrenaline rush. And there is that really great feeling that you're getting from the music, from the connecting with people, from being part of a common good. But oftentimes they show that adrenaline starts to go down. Right. And what you're doing is you're going, no, we're not going to let the adrenaline go down. We're going to give you practical skills. So we're going to take that adrenaline. You're going to put it in your little bottle that you're going to carry with you. And when you encounter challenges or really great opportunities, you're going to tap into that adrenaline rather than leaving it back at the concert or the conference. And so that's what's beautiful about the idea of whether you want to relate it to something like drumming or you want to talk into the neuroscience. It's helping people understand in whichever way they're going to best understand. Here's how you can be kind, and here's how you can do awesome things so that you feel good about what you're doing and you help other people to feel good about what they're doing.
100%. And so I'm going to do two book plugs, because it actually ties perfectly into what you just said and why. So the first thing, my book, believe in yourself, unleash your superpower through simple neuroscience. That's the foundation. So I love you talk about bottle this up. We have to have micro actions every single day to be able to sustain that. Because let's be honest, if you're having a crappy day and you go in public, you have a choice. You can continue that crappy attitude and ignore or place that on everyone around you, or you have the choice to change that. And by helping someone else changes your own attitude, but you have to have that foundation and you have to have those tools bottled up. I call them all the tools in your tool pouch. And we talk about neuroscience, but they're truly micro steps, micro actions. And then that leads into Mark's book, which is the attitude equation, because then it's a choice. You have the choice and Mark, I'll let you expand on that, but every moment is a decision how you show up. So that's where the neuroscience skills really come into play to help you choose the right attitude and action to get the right behavior behind it. So Mark, I'll let you add to that one.
I'll just expand on my book a little bit. The attitude equation has essentially been formulated by one of the mentors of my life and my co-writer, Dr. Jim Samuels. And it's so simple and so powerful. And people's jaws drop. Like, that's it? Yes. The fact is that so much of the time we cannot control what happens to us, right? We've all experienced that. But at any point in time, this moment, right now, you have the power to change, control, or shift your attitude about what is happening to you. And talk about leverage and power. Because what gets very exciting is your attitude is what drives your behavior. Think about the implications of that. And one attitude can drive many behaviors, and your behavior is what determines the consequences of your life. And one behavior can determine many consequences. So by shifting your attitude, you literally, in the moment, and all it takes is the decision to choose an attitude that serves you. That's what Heather was talking about. In that moment, you have a choice, and that affects the behavior and the outcome. And that's the attitude equation. A times B equals C. Attitude times behavior equals consequence. And what's so fun about my book, our book, is that it's based on interviews with top performers and their experience with attitude and how attitude has affected them both positively and negatively. And I'm talking about some great people, everybody from Howie Mandel to producer Judd Apatow to Grant Cardone to Guy Kawasaki, who did the foreword, to amazing drummers, amazing sports figures. And so you get to hear their stories about the power of attitude. And it's an expansion, or that's sort of one of the foundations, I should say, of the everyday rock star.
And I'll bring this full circle to what you were just talking about, Deb, because let's just be real. It's a tough world. It can be. You can look at it that way. But yeah, it's a faster paced world. We've got more thrown at us. We've got AI. We've never moved at a faster rate than we are today. That's a lot of stress on the brain, the body, and the soul. So going back to intention, we're also not trained to truly look at service in everything we do. We're trained to seek, to have competition, and to achieve. And sometimes those feel like mutually exclusive objectives. And so when you really look at every intention, every action, every decision is, how does this affect and serve others? That's where all of this comes into play, because it can be as simple as just smiling at somebody that you run into in the grocery store. That creates all those endorphins, and looking at people's a lost art, actually making eye contact's a lost art. So talk about brain boosting right there. But from that simple moment to much bigger moments, you've got that choice. And it really then creates that impact for you. It creates that impact for them. And yes, that's part of the foundation for Everyday Rockstar. But talk about hope, talk about service, talk about joy. It really can be that simple.
And it's contagious.
Yeah.
And it really does work. And I will say that, we give a keynote, but we also give we also offer assessments, so everybody can take an assessment before or even afterwards, which determines where each attendee, where they land based on the 4 neuroscience pillars. And then we create continued education after that in the form of micro learning, like Heather was talking about, in the form of Zoom calls, in the form of live follow-up. So it can start with a keynote, and the keynote can be just the beginning. And what excites us is we are actually creating relationships with clients for continued expansion of KPIs and ROIs, because in the end, I understand that people are concerned about numbers, but we can show 20% improvement in KPIs and ROIs if people are actually embracing these concepts and show them how they can raise the everyday rock star based on the 4 neuroscience pillars.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it like, we all have our own, I'm going to use the music analogy just because it fits so appropriately here, right? But we all have our own skill set. We all have our own instrument, if you will, right, that we can play. And when you think about, we are designed to be in community and connection, right? You were talking about, Heather, the lost form of eye contact. I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes just making eye contact with somebody and a nod of the head, no words spoken, is a very profound interaction. And if you think about one instrument playing and then you get the next one that adds in and then what becomes this incredible song, right? And that's what happens when we help people to really feel their ability and be able to use the skill sets that they have. And what you were talking about with the attitude equation, Mark, it's interesting. I have this thing I call the as if it approach, right? This is like for years. This wasn't even something that I necessarily created as part of consulting. It was like one of the things I just used to get through really difficult circumstances. And it's very much what you were saying. So it's recognizing the circumstance. It could be it could be something very challenging. There's really, really difficult things that we go up against. But almost telling ourselves, how would I handle the situation if I wasn't feeling upset about it? What would I do, right? So and I talk to my teenagers about this. Something bad happens at school. Your tendency is to want to go in your room and close the door, right? Well, that just feeds into that negative feeling. What would you do right now if you were having a good day? Would you go outside and go for a walk? Would you turn some happy music on? So to do those things that you would do if you weren't feeling that negative emotion, and then the behavior, which you were talking about, flips the emotion. It's not foolproof. We're going to grieve when we experience loss. We're going to feel frustration and we're going to feel exhaustion. But if we take an opportunity to seize what we can control, we remind ourselves that life isn't owning us, right? And that's the rock star mentality, right? Is to really be creating the sound, not letting the sound create you.
That's amazing. And I agree completely. And just to add on that just a little bit, when you see people, we all know those people that are like, gosh, that person looks like they've got it together, or, oh my gosh, everything works out for that person, or a rock star, like, oh, that's untouchable. I could never be a rock star. We're all rock stars.
Yeah.
And like you said, we all have our own instrument, our own gifts, our talents, our strengths. And if we can really embrace that and show up, but then looking in those moments, and I love what you just said, and to expand on that, when I am in that moment of just overwhelm and confusion and emotion and stuck in the feelings, for me to know who my rock stars are, what are the traits, who are they? And what would they do? Because when we look outside of ourselves, we get much more inspiration. So having that, again, your tools, having that ready to go to tap in, so then you can be the everyday rock star. And no, we're going to have moments. And of course, we're going to have less than desirable days. But the truth is we all are everyday rock stars. And it's just helping each other be better versions of who they already are.
Yeah. And I love that you're using the credibility that you both have, right? There's credibility that comes with saying, these are the people that I've performed with. There's credibility that comes with saying, this is the training that I've received. And you're taking that credibility to breathe validation into something, because let's be honest, sometimes people are resistant when they're being told, oh, you can do this and it's going to help improve your performance, and people are like, oh, is this one of those, I forget some of the terms that people use, right? But there's very negative associations. You're not going to change my life, you're not going to change my attitude, but you're showing it with credibility. And it's a beautiful thing when people take positions of power and authority, which comes from having credibility, and they use that to empower and uplift other people. That's what you're using, right? You're going into circumstances and you're going, okay, here's the credibility, so here's why you might want to listen to me, and then you go, and here's why I should listen to you, right? Like, how cool is that?
And that's very, very so true and wonderful. And one of the reasons why we talk about this assessment is to support exactly what you were talking about when people are just resistant and go, well, how's this going to help me? Well, if you take an assessment and see where you stand at some point, then get some training and see how you've improved, then it's measurable. And the whole idea behind the everyday Rockstar is we can measure your abilities in the first in the basic neuroscience pillars. Oh, I'm going to say it. It stands for CRED, and CRED is clarity. The clarity when it comes to self-awareness. How aware are you truly of who you are, how you respond, and what you do? And then R stands for resilience, which is essentially how well do you deal with adversity and issues right in the moment when you need to, when it's the most important. Because how well we deal with adversity in the moment really, sort of informs our lives in so many ways. And E, it's actually E cubed. It's effort, energy, and empathy. And E is perhaps the most powerful one of the neuroscience pillars, because that is how well do you really have empathy and really apply that to others? How well can you really connect and really support and truly be the foundation for others? And then D is, Heather said, how will you deliver? How much courage and grit do you have in the moment when it matters most? So these are very strong pillars to live your life by. And if you could raise your, like, say you were only at 50% in one of those pillars, say your ability to deliver was at a 40 or 50% mark, and you trained with us and you were able to raise that to 70%, can you imagine how that would affect your life and the lives of everybody around you? And your productivity and the production. That's the idea. The idea is real sustainable growth and change.
Yeah. And it's not about, you talked about, Deb, people resisting change. And of course, that's what the brain's designed to do. It wants to stay nice and comfortable. It's not about us changing someone else's life. It's about providing the tools and opportunity to make an impact. And if they follow it, it will. So it's so much fun, because I always call this super ninja neuroscience, where we retrain brains and they don't know it. Because if you do small little daily actions, and then you, like Mark said, you measure it every quarter, you see yourself. You see the results yourself. And I'll say just an additional plug about our assessment. We've gone through 3 statistical rounds of research, and it's been independently statistically validated. So this isn't us making this up. Sure. It's our content that has scientific validation behind it. And that's why we're really proud of it, because it's true behavior change. If you really want to make an impact, that's what I tell people when they come to me and say, hey, will you coach me? Say, I don't know. Let me ask you a couple questions. Are you really want change? They're like, of course I want change. No, really. Are you really ready to do the work? Or you just want a magic wand? Do you just want to wake up one day and things to be different? Well, human behavior, we all want that in some way. But if you follow simple steps, and if you're really, really embracing the perspective that I'm great, let's strengthen that greatness and tweak some things that are a little less desirable, we can make significant impact. But it just starts with those small daily micro actions. but having that information, that assessment is a great foundation of saying, this is where I'm at. Now, what's next?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the training is done in micro chunks, in small bits. It's very digestible because we know that there have been so many programs, hundreds and hundreds of programs that so many companies subscribe to. And it's it's constant work for people. We want it to be easy. We want it to be simple, digestible, and effective. And that's the only way that people are truly going to accept it, we found out, is it needs to be small amounts, small chunks. As Heather says, micro chunks. Because when you do things in micro chunks, but you do them consistently, you will see activation. You will see change. As a matter of fact, we don't call ourselves motivational speakers. Ooh, we say we're activational speakers. We activate people. And you look at my energy now. My energy on stage is like 10 times what it is now.
I imagine.
Heather's the perfect balance because she's just really poised, articulate, but she's funny too. And we have so much fun on stage. And it's so anecdotal. I tell rock stories and I do, Pink medley and a Foreigner medley and a Cher medley. But everything that we do has content relevance. So you talked about earlier, it's that kinetic feeling that people get. If you attach that to real content, that's where we found that's where the really big win, the real efficacy, and that's where you where experience meets a really kinetic, exciting experience meets actual learning and growth.
Well, that's why you get referred by the people you go to something, and that's why you then get 50, 100 phone calls, I should say, right? Because people go, I was there and I need you to come. This other person needs to meet you, or you need to come and talk to this other organization because they see it and they can feel it. People want that action. They want to know that there's something that they can take away. We all, of course, we all want to be. And I think you're right. I think the term motivational speaker gets misused, and there's a lot of different people that have probably taken advantage of an opportunity to maybe use something that they had or a connection that they had and put themselves on a stage and maybe not necessarily have the best interests at heart. And so there's definitely some of that stuff that goes on, which is not what we want. We want people to be out there and be looking to create real effective change that's going to be sustainable and that's going to create a positive role across the world. So yeah, I love it. So I want to, before I ask you guys, because of course I'm going to make sure you give everybody how to get in touch with you. I want your parting words, but I'm kind of interested in, maybe a case study, but like somewhere that you've gone and done your thing, an interesting question you got asked, maybe an interesting well, I'm sure it's all interesting. So that's a bad question. So let's forget that word. An example of a question that you were asked by somebody and how you were able to kind of help them apply your training and your expertise.
So that's too big of a question.
Okay,
Are you kidding?
I know.
That's like a 5-day answer.
All right.
I'll jump in very, very quickly. It's really fascinating because you meet people where they are, and you never know where something will land and when. And what we think, oh, this is really hot today, they have a different perspective because of a life experience or a certain circumstance that they've been through. I'll tell you 2 super quick things. We gave our presentation a few months ago, and I won't give the full exercise, but there's an exercise in the middle of our presentation that's very powerful. It's very emotional. And it's designed that way for a reason. It's an interactive exercise with two people, a paired share. And after that particular speech presentation, we had a participant come to us. We always offer a meet and greet. They come, take pictures behind the drums, sign something, have a quick conversation. And this woman came up and she already had tears in her eyes when she walked up. And she said, I need to tell you something. I had a very traumatic experience 6 years ago. I've really tried to work through it. And she said, I think I just had a breakthrough today. where I actually felt seen and heard, and I was able to release that experience. Talk about effective. And we don't always hear how things land for people, but that means everything, not for us, but for her, that she was able in that 3-minute interaction to feel that way. How beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then a completely different perspective. I was working with a sales group a few years ago. Super long story, very, very short. I worked with the team. I helped the team. It was the manager that was the issue. The manager kept the team flat. They were struggling. They were stressed out, burned out. When she saw the effectiveness I was having with her team, she said, "Would you be willing to coach me?" That was a huge moment of vulnerability for her to ask for that. But once she started having her own clarity, how she was showing up for her team and how she was actually roadblocking the success, that's when everything opened up. So when we go back to the core of our program, really all of these pieces work together. And it starts with just a little bit of clarity, just a little bit of tools and skills, but you never know the impact that it can make. So that's my version, Mark, if you want to add.
I think you said it beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, and when you know that that was happening over and over and over again, right? Like to your point, that was just the story that was shared. That's the cool thing with these. 10 years from now, somebody might click play on this video and catch what you just said, and or any part of the conversation, right? And be moved by it. Those types of things can't happen if we don't take opportunities to speak truth and to hear other people's truth, right? Like that's every time we have those conversations, every time we ask and truly listen, we open up doors to incredible things that we will probably never really fully understand the scope of impact that we make. But when we just cheer ourselves, right? You wake up in the morning and you're like, hey man, I am making an incredible impact today. Right? By existing, I'm making an incredible impact today. So
that's great. I think the only thing I wanted to add is the reason why I stayed silent after what Heather just said. First of all, that's my partner, everybody. Oh my God, am I the luckiest guy on the planet? Second of all, we don't want to give away the farm because we have so many processes and interactions and concepts that we want people to experience without giving away too much now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I did talk about credit. I did talk about, we gave a lot, but those were two beautiful examples. And I just feel like I am the most grateful man on the planet to be able to be in this position, to have a platform with this partner to have the impact, because you said that key word so many times, and that is really the foundation. What kind of impact do we get to have on this planet and on others?
Yeah. Ooh, I mean, I'm getting emotional. All right. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you each to kind of share a final thought that you'd like to leave the audience with. And as I always say, it could be funny, it could be inspirational. There's really no guidelines around that, just kind of something final that you'd like to leave everybody with. But before that, I do want to make sure that we get how everybody can follow you, connect with you, utilize your services, get your books. So I don't know if you want to put them up there, the titles up there again. I can also, after the live is over, I will put the information up in the comment section so that people can click on that. But in whatever order you want to go, let people know how they can be in your sphere.
Heather?
Yeah, it's really easy to find both.
Heather just froze.
And I just froze. Oh my gosh. Am I still frozen?
You're back.
Ahead,
you're a little
Mark.
fuzzy, but you're
Okay.
back.
You're back.
there.
You're a little
That's
fuzzy,
so
but
weird.
that's okay. We love you anyway.
You guys look fine. That's what's funny. Okay. Well, I'll make this super fast. Everything's easy. HeatherJCrider.com, MarkSchulman.com. Both of our information is in both of our sites. We're super easy to find. My book, Believe in Yourself More Than Your Grandma. Unleash Your Superpower Through Simple Neuroscience. That's on Amazon. And then, sorry, Mark, I'm going to just add yours too, since I have it. The Attitude Equation. That's also on Amazon. We work with clients, individuals, corporations, teams. My final phrase, my final thought I'd like to leave, and Deb, you talked about truly listening. When you listen and you're truly a mindful listener, you make someone else feel seen and heard. You have the dignity and grace of connecting with another human being. When people feel seen and heard, they have trust, they're willing to tap into themselves, they're willing to be vulnerable. But that's a gift. So when you really truly are listening, just think about the gift you're giving someone else in that moment. That's my parting thought for you.
Beautiful.
Wow. My parting thought. I think I've kind of said it all. I just am, as I said, just so grateful to be able to have this platform now after having toured for 32 years with these amazing artists, and then tell a lot of their stories in support of what other people can get out of learning. Because one of the things I did is I really have always paid a lot of attention and been very philosophical and studied these top class performers because there's so much we can learn from them. So that's why that's integrated into so much of what we do. And that's why I also play drums. And okay, tell one more secret. I do bring someone up to play drums, and I make a guarantee that I will show someone how to play a Pink song in 3 minutes or less. Okay, that's my last secret. That's it. I'm done.
On the drums. All right. All right. Now I'm curious. Well, it's funny you talked about listening and you talked about gratitude, which was this conversation, right? Was about us being able to share, listen, and feel each other's stories, because you could tell we were all, despite the fact that this is virtual, very much connected and present in this moment. Which then brings me to Mark's gratitude thing. I'm really grateful. If I cry right now, it'll be okay. I'm grateful that coming back from what's been a challenge. It's been some challenges, physical. I've gone through some emotional and physical challenges. Really very blessed that I've been able to attitude through them in the correct ways, but nonetheless challenging, and had been kind of planning that I would be getting back into the go lives in December. So that's, it fell right on target, but super, super happy that it was with the two of you and that we were able to have this conversation. I think it's such a great way to come jumping back into it. I am really in awe of what you guys do. Will be, a super cheerleader for you both, and am eager now that I have had this conversation and know even more about what you do. Kind of, I knew it on the surface, but now having had this conversation, to be able to hopefully make some connections to some people with you. And the future is wide open, but I thank you really both for your time. I thank everybody that joined us today too. Anybody that watched even a fragment of this, whether you watched it recorded or live, grateful to you for being here and being present with us. So, here comes 2025.
That's
It
right.
does. And
Let's
can I give one exercise for everybody? Because
let's do it.
Gratitude
And there's
is
like,
huge.
wait a minute, Mark, dial it back. No more of our secrets.
I know. I just get so excited, but I learned this from my buddy Tim Sanders, and I've done this many times, and it's provocative and amazing. If you want to take on the challenge, send 3 gratitude texts, just expressing your gratitude to family members, maybe some friends you haven't spoken with in a while. And not only expressing that you're grateful for them, but give at least one reason why you are grateful. And just monitor the responses, because the responses are so varied. Everything from super emotional responses to, are you sick? Why are you sending me this? Is everything okay? But you will change somebody's life by expressing that gratitude. It is one of the simplest and easiest ways to be of service, to raise your own endorphins, to raise their endorphins. And in the holiday spirit, gratitude is king.
Absolutely. All right. Anything you want to add, Heather?
I'm just honored to be here, on the gratitude love train here. It's an honor, Deb. You're awesome. I'm glad that you're back, and thank you for having us. We are more than honored and grateful for this time. So thank you for sharing your time with us and your audience with us.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm going to send you my own gratitude text when I get your phone number, but I don't.
Oh, excellent! I'm excited. Well, and I'm curious now to go down the hall and see. Now that I've actually had the conversation with my son, he's going to be just like, he's going to be like, "Are you going to get me those books?" That's probably going to be the thing, and I will absolutely. So I had planned to order them prior to, and life just got crazy. But I'm excited.
How about
now.
if we send you signed copies? You give us your home address.
Oh.
We'll send you both. We'll both send you signed copies of our books.
That would be beautiful.
That would be such a lovely gift for you in this holiday. And
Thank
congratulations on your healing and going through back surgery. I know that that is profound and one of the most challenging things to endure. So congratulations, Deb, you rock.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. All right. Take care, everybody. We appreciate you. Heather and Mark, thank you very much. And I'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.